This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to CWK Live, your weekly Coffee with Kenobi live conversation that we get to have together, talking about Star Wars, whatever the topic is for the week, things that are brewing, and tonight, Star Wars trivia. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see all of you here. Let's bring in our friends. We've got Minta here. This is the way. It's CWK Day. Mary Purdue is here. Hello, Mary. Good to have you back. Mary, of course, was our guest in the CWK Alliance. Let's see. It was our spotlight show. Yes. Got so many little coffee names. I have to kind of think about where everything goes together. But we have a CWK Alliance spotlight show, and Mary was the guest for this month. So that was very fun. If you're not a member of the CWK Alliance, be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance to get access to an exclusive weekly podcast. I'm so excited. I can't even, my brain doesn't catch up with my mouth. Craig says, have a great show. Thank you so much. Reading Between the Reels, Craig Dickinson's podcast. Be sure to check it out. Amber is back. Good to have you, Amber. One of my former students. Killian is here. Killian, Mr. Cub himself. Good to have you, buddy. Amber, we are glad to have you. Jose is here. Hello. Hello, Jose. Ross says, let the special brew begin. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's good to see you. Hello, Amber. Good to have you. Brian, this is the thing you need to see on Monday. This is the thing you need to see on Monday you are looking for. Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad to have you, man. It is a pleasure, as always, to see everyone. Ben says he's going to watch trivia. He's going to own trivia. He's going to own trivia. All right. Okay, Ben. Challenge accepted, buddy. Jamie says, great job, Mary. And by the way, speaking of Mary, we want to give a very special shout out to Mary Purdue. Besides being a CWK Alliance Spotlight member for the month, we received a package today in the mail, and one of the things in it was from Mary. It was a very nice gift that she got for Mason, and I'm going to let Mason type that in. Whenever you're ready, you may go ahead and do that. But Mason was very happy, and he wanted to be sure to thank you personally on Facebook. So I'm sure that Mason will do that any moment now. Tonight, we're going to look at your top 5 favorite moments from Finn from the sequel trilogy. And then we're going to play some Star Wars trivia, which Ben promises again that he's going to own. So I like that. I like the confidence. All right. So let's go ahead and just jump right into our top 5, shall we? Again, our top 5 favorites for tonight is your top 5 Finn moments. Okay. So Finn is a very interesting character. To me, he was stronger in The Force Awakens, and he was intriguing in The Last Jedi. So I'm just going to tell you now, you're not going to see any moments from Finn for The Rise of Skywalker for me, because I don't feel like he got to do justice that he deserved as a character. But that's okay. There's plenty of meat there to talk about Finn, because he is a very fun character. John Boyega is awesome, charismatic, and he gave us a lot of good food for thought. So my number 5 of my Finn moments is when he looks at Han Solo and says, we'll use the Force. Because, as you know, Finn is trying to convince Han Solo that they can sneak into Starkiller Base, but really Finn is not that much of an expert. He's from sanitation, and he doesn't know anything about sneaking in or artillery or anything like that, besides the Stormtrooper training that he has, which is obviously he's a pretty formidable opponent in battle, but he's not a specialist. And then when he tells Han not to worry because we'll use the Force, Han says, that's not how the Force works. I just like the dialogue and the interplay between Harrison Ford and John Boyega, so it's very fun. So Luis is here. Luis, let's see. Luis, my Spanish is very rusty, but I'm so grateful to have you here, my friend. It's so awesome to see you here. Ross, number 5, Off the Grid. The rapport between John Boyega and Oscar Isaac during any promotional appearances together. Oh, that's fun. Similar to what I have, except mine was behind the camera and yours is, in front of the camera. Yours is behind the camera. Fantastic. Minta's is also mine. We'll use the Force. Number 5. Mary's number 5 is dealing with Phasma and putting her in the trash compactor. Nice. And Mary, here it is. All caps. Thank you, Mary. That is from my son, Mason's there. Again, thank you so much for that awesome surprise, Kyra Crystal. He is thrilled. We've been playing with it a lot tonight. So thank you again, Mary. Ben's number 5. Finn rescues Poe, gets his name, and the bromance starts. There you go. I thought about putting that on there. The whole passing of the baton thing, or not, it's not really passing of a baton, but the naming conventions. There's a lot of power in that. It's certainly a very literary concept. Number 5 for Amber, seeing Finn in the Force Awakens trailer. I had no idea who he was and why he took his helmet off. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to mute the mic. Okay, we're back. I didn't want you to have to hear that sneeze. Mason says, Mary says, you are welcome. Josh is back. He says he's missed the last couple of weeks. Had some important things going on. Wasn't able to make it, but he's excited to be back, Josh. We were happy to have you, buddy. No problem at all. What do other people have for their top 5 favorite Finn moments? We're on number 5 right now. Again, mine was we'll use the Force. When Finn was chatting with Han Solo, trying to persuade him that, hey, we can get inside a Starkiller base, no problem. Finn just wanted to rescue Rey, or find Rey. That's all he wanted. Okay. Mason's number 5 is when Finn rescues Poe and gets him out of the Star Destroyer, and they fly in that TIE fighter and jet off to Jakku. That is Mason's number 5. Okay. Well, we're going to jump in then to number 4. Number 4 is, for me, the Poe rescue. Just like Mason's 5, it's made it to my number 4. I like the dialogue here is great. It's sharp. You can tell that this is J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan pen because of the witty banter and the back and forth like I've been talking about throughout tonight's show so far, which is super charming. And it's also cool because it's like exciting and adventurous, but there's a little bit of humor to it as well. And I just like that balance. To me, that's when Star Wars is at its best. Excuse me, number 5 for Josh. Dueling with Kylo. A very exciting duel. The set for that Force is amazing, and the colors are excellent. The idea to use the sabers as a primary light source was genius. Plus, it leads to the very first Kylo versus Rey duel. Ah, very good. Number 5 for Kato is Finn is drinking the stinky water. Kato, outstanding. That's great. Number 4 for me, to the instant bromance between Poe and Finn. Alrighty. Amber's number 4 is I Just Know from Rise of Skywalker. Oh, cool. A Force moment, perhaps. Ross's number 4, Finn interacting with Bulio and R2-D2 to get the information from the First Order spy. I had to pick at least one not from The Force Awakens. Well, Ross, as I said at the top show, that was hard for me to do, so I appreciate you bringing that one up because that is a good one. Number 4 for Brian, Rise of Skywalker, when he hops into the gunner's chair at the beginning and gives the look of, I've got this. Yeah, I like that too. I like that part. I debated putting that part in where he sits in that gunner's chair. That was, by the way, the real sound effects. How about that? Exciting stuff. So Mary's number 4, trying to tell Rey something as they are sinking in the quicksand. Not necessarily a favorite, but I wish they would have continued this through the story. I do too. It just kind of dropped. But I wish it was there as well. James is number 4, trying to tell Rey in Rise of Skywalker that he is Force sensitive but never actually told her. Yes, very good. Very similar to Mary's number 4. Ben's number 4, Finn decided to sacrifice himself on Crate. It seemed like the perfect end to his arc, but surprise, Rose saves him and teaches him and us an amazing lesson. That's right. That's not how we're going to win. I'm sorry, that's how we're going to win. Not fighting what we hate, but saving what we love. Yep, I love that part, Ben. One of my favorite quotes in all of Star Wars. Matthew, good to have you, buddy. No sorry necessary. Good to have you on the show. Kato's number 4, working hard to convince Rose that he is on an official mission for High Command when trying to steal that escape pod. I like that. It's fun. I like the kind of, may the Force be with you, and she kind of gasps like he's a celebrity and he just signed an autograph for her or something like that. I like that. Kato, good call. How have I been? I have been outstanding. Sir, and I hope you have as well. I've only got a couple weeks left, and then it's almost summertime for me, which is hard to believe. I teach seniors, so I have a bit of a different schedule, so it's pretty crazy. Matthew's next one is Finn and Poe coming up with Finn's name. How about that? Number 4 for Mason is the change of heart that he has in The Force Awakens. When he is at the very beginning, after the stormtroopers are asked to fire on the village, and Finn is the only stormtrooper that's standing there, and he's got that handprint on his helmet, and he's just looking, and he's got the blaster straight down, and that's the moment when he realizes, I'm going to leave the First Order. That's Mason's number 4. It's a great dramatic moment. I wish I'd thought of it. Excuse me. Number 3 for me is, of course, the scene that's probably going to show up on a lot of people's 1s and 2s is the famous traitor sequence. Actually, the reason I like this, because besides the cool kung fu choreography, I really like Finn holding Luke's lightsaber aloft and igniting that thing and seeing it start to work. Even though he wasn't, using the Force with that weapon, just seeing it light up and knowing that he has combat training was cool. Was super cool. I loved it. And the sound effects are great on Traitor as well. Okay, number 4 for Jose is the final fight with Phasma. Excellent. I should have put that on mine too. Josh's number 4 is Canto Bight. I love the scene. The character development for Finn and Rose is superb. John Williams' music is very fun, and the scene, or collection of scenes, rather, is great. Very good. The first Canto Bight mentioned so far. Minta's number 3, Phasma versus Finn. This fight showed how much he had grown between the films, proving he was no longer a mindless stormtrooper, but a rebel. That's right. Rebel scum. Oh, that's a good one, Minta. That's a good one. I like that one. Number 3 for Mary, the Harris wrench scene, his confusion on what Rey is asking for, and his interaction with BB-8. And Mary, I'm convinced that ever since we did trivia a couple weeks ago, you're going to find a way to say Harris wrench every show. And I applaud you. I like it. Using your knowledge, your acquired knowledge to your benefit. Bravo. Amber's number 3, Rey, I didn't tell you. I think he was trying to tell her he can use the Force. I do too. And like Mary mentioned earlier, I wish that it actually played out later because it was a good part. Ross is number 3, Finn pleading with BB-8 to find out that the resistance base is in the Ilenium system, and their subsequent thumbs up. Oh, the thumbs up, the BB-8 thumbs up. How could I forget that? I guess maybe in my mind it's more of a BB-8 moment, but I don't know. I mean, that's definitely, obviously that is a Finn moment, and Ross knows his Star Wars about as well as anybody. So I love that. Thanks for illuminating my mind as always, Ross. That's a good one. Number 3 for Kato is that Finn's code is one I've always remembered because it is the code I use on a particular device. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Maybe your ATM? I don't know. Very cool. Number 3 for Jose is also Canto Bight, like was mentioned earlier. Matthew, Finn trying to convince Rey he's with the rebellion. Ooh, that one's good too. See, there's a lot of good comedic timing with John Boyega in this first one that I wish I'd remembered for other stuff. So Mary is admitting, yes, she is in fact going to try to find the Harris wrench in there somehow. Very good. Number 3 for Ben, deciding not to shoot on Jakku. He must have known that by deciding not to shoot, he wouldn't last much longer in the First Order, but his morals won the day. Yes, an excellent, excellent lesson. Number 3 for Brian, Finn fighting on Takodana against FN2199 and igniting the lightsaber for the first time. Yep, that's the power behind that. I love that. Number 3 for Josh, J.J. Abrams is an excellent director, and this scene is no exception, referring to the Jakku chase. It's thrilling and incredibly fast-paced. J.J. has proven time and again he knows how to direct an action sequence. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Number 3 for James, Phasma versus Finn. It's too bad we never got to see any more Stormtroopers. Turned to be fair during the Empire era. It would be harder since they would be afraid of Vader and Palpatine. Yeah, I agree. And I feel like Stormtroopers, James, and feel free to weigh in on this, or anybody. I feel like Stormtroopers in the First Order are just much meaner. I mean, they're not nice in the Empire. They're awful. But I feel like they're more sadistic with the First Order. And that's one of the reasons why I think I've never gravitated directly towards the First Order. I don't know. I feel like that's there. I don't know. All right. Let's see. Mason's number 3 was Big Deal. This is the part where Han Solo refers to Finn as Big Deal because that's how Finn has coined himself. It's pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious. All right, let's go to number 2. My number 2 is just like Mason's number 3, Big Deal. I like Han Solo saying, listen, Big Deal. Basically, in essence, women always find out when you're lying. That is the advice that Han Solo tells Finn, because Finn is not telling Rey the truth. And Han knows from his experiences with his wife or former wife Leia that you can't hide the truth. That's not honest. That's not the way to have a relationship. And it just leads to trouble. And Han Solo very candidly tells Finn, listen, big deal, that's a bad idea. And I just really like that part. Okay. All right. Let's see. Number 2 for Minta is traitor. Okay, awesome. The one I just talked about at 3, and certainly one that's going to come up a lot. Mary says, I'm kind of a big deal, and then Han calling him big deal later. There you go. Another tie. Very cool. Number 2 for Amber, Finn and Poe fighting in Rise of Skywalker. These interactions are so funny. Yeah, and again, it's very brief, but it is very fun. Let's see. James, true, 3-way, better shots than Empire-era troopers, they hardly miss. Oh, that's true. That's true. Very true. Matthew, the battle between Finn and Phasma, the full cut. Oh, nice. 2 for Ross is traitor. Finn with the lightsaber fighting against FN2199 and his Z6 riot control baton on Takodana. I like it. Ross has got his visual guide ready to go, or maybe you've got this memorized. It wouldn't surprise me if you did, but I appreciate you being prepared. Let's see. Where are we here? I already did that one. Ben, Finn beat Best Phasma in combat. Hey, in his delivery of the line, Rebel scum. Chills. Absolutely chills. Yeah, that's a cool part. So cool. Number 2 for Mason is when Finn fights Kylo Ren at the end of The Force Awakens. Of course, it doesn't last very long, and Kylo's kind of toying with him, but still, talk about bravery facing off against one of the most dangerous people in the galaxy. Number 2 for Jose is Finn convincing BB-8 to tell Rey about the Resistance base. Thumbs up is one of the funniest parts of Star Wars. Yep, that's a good one. Ross mentioned that one earlier. I love it. I love it. Number 2 for James, kind of a sad moment in him sensing that Rey died in Rise of Skywalker. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that was very powerful. No way memorize. I'm a nerd who likes to research. Hey, man. I love that. I love that about you. That's cool. You know how much research I had to do for some of these things? I understand. I think we all have kind of our fun ways of pouring through all this great Star Wars stuff. Subtle, not so subtle plug. So that's cool. All right, Josh. Crate. The Battle of Crate is excellent. I love when Finn says when the Falcon shows up, oh, they hate that ship. Oh, man. I should have put that on there because as much as I love the Falcon. Good choice. And number 2 for Brian, Finn pulls out the lightsaber training remote when looking for a bandage for Chewie. Yeah, fun, kind of a quick little Easter egg. That was great fun. I already mentioned number 2 for Mason. All right, let's go ahead into our top favorite Finn moment. Number 1 for me, the only one from my list that is not in The Force Awakens. That is, of course, the sacrifice or the attempted sacrifice at the end of The Last Jedi. When I first saw this film, of course, I was blown away by it. But when I thought that Finn was going to lose his life, the way it was happening in the music, it was so powerful. I thought, oh no, he's going to die. But there was a part of me that was at peace with it because it was a very beautiful arc. Him truly trying to take out the First Order to save the Resistance. He didn't have to do that because Rose saves him. It gives us a wonderfully heroic moment. Naturally followed by Luke Skywalker facing the First Order, the greatest sequence in the history of cinema. But I like that moment, just showing what kind of person that Finn is. It was just very beautiful, very well done, and very literary in value. Number 1 for Minta. Finn diving more into his Force abilities in The Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so Minta, sounds like you like The Rise of Skywalker a bit more than me, which is great. I'm glad that you liked it, and I'm glad that you found some nuggets in there. That's great. Amber's number 1, Finn versus Phasma, shows how much he's grown in his bravery. Certainly. Jose, Finn and Poe's escape, Boyega and Isaac play really well off each other. Yes, they certainly do. Matthew, Finn raising Luke's lightsaber to face off against Kylo Ren. I love that part as well. It's super cool. And that's kind of why I picked number 3 like that. But it's mostly for the part you mentioned, Matthew. Number 1 for Mary, the Poe rescue. Actually, all the interactions with Poe, they have such great chemistry. Okay. Kato, when Rey hugs him in The Force Awakens and says, you came back, because Finn realizes it too. Oh, Kato, that's so well said. So well said. And I like that moment. It's very emotional. I knew that my friends here in the CWK Cafe and on Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook Paige, I knew you'd have great things to inspire me. You're in an excellent moment too many choices. There's so many good ones. Number 1 for Ross, the reveal with FN2187 removing his bloodied mask, introducing the about-to-be-named Finn. You immediately know he's at odds with himself. That's right. Very symbolic scene. Ben's number 1. Finn lights the lightsaber on Starkiller base to bravely face Kylo Ren, then taunts him by saying, "Come get it." Yep, it's super cool. Number 1 for Mason is my number 3, and that is Traitor. I actually thought Traitor would come up a lot more, and it didn't, so that's kind of cool. There's a nice variety of things that move all of you when it comes to Finn. A great character that I think we had so much more, and who knows what the future will hold, but he's given us some great moments, and I thank you all for sharing them. Here's a few more. James, Finn versus Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, such an epic first fight. Besides Grievous and Cad Bane, who weren't Force sensitive, to have fought another person who had the Force using a lightsaber. Yep, I agree. Super cool. Excuse me. All right, let's look at next week's top 5. To no one's surprise, probably. Top 5 Poe Dameron moments. Next week, we're going to be looking at your top 5 Poe Dameron moments. We got a couple more here. Josh says Snoke Star Destroyer. I mentioned several times the character development for Finn in The Last Jedi is great. And the Supremacy especially. This is when his arc comes very close to its pinnacle. He's fully transformed from a coward who wants to guarantee he and Rey's safety to a hero. Absolutely. The one for Brian. I wish I put Traitor on there. Oh, well, see, I know. See, Ben, it's cool because we've got so many great inspirational moments from our friends here who are watching along and joining us on Facebook Live. Cato says John Boyega was amazing as Finn. I completely agree. Cato. I loved him there. So, again, next week is top 5 Poe Dameron moments. And then, after we go through our top 5 Poe Dameron moments, we're going to take a break from top 5 character moments. And we are going to go into top 5 moments from every episode of The Bad Batch. Because we're just a week away. Well, we're more than a week away. But next week's Facebook Live will be the last Facebook Live before The Bad Batch airs, which is why next week is your top 5 favorite Poe Dameron moments. And then we're going to look at every episode of The Bad Batch, however many episodes they haven't said yet. Disney has not said yet. We're going to go through each one of those episodes, and you're going to give your top 5s for them. So that's going to be fun. Okay. So now we're going to do, of course, some Star Wars trivia. I'm actually using a different source for some of your questions, so they're going to be more focused on the first 6 films. I'm hoping there'll be a lot of stuff here in the prequel trilogy, but we'll find out. We shall find out. So is everybody ready to go? First question, you know the rules on this. And the reason we're doing this week is because next week we're going to do some fun stuff as a Bad Batch, kind of a pre-show. So stay tuned for that. Matthew says, who wouldn't love to see Finn in a solo movie? That could be cool. That could be very cool. All right. Your first Star Wars trivia question. Now, don't look these up. Don't look in the Star Wars book, although thank you for thinking of it. That's 2 shameless plugs. I apologize for that. So don't look it up. Don't look in a book or Google it. Just go with your gut. The Force is strong with you. I know it. So let's see how we're doing. All right, question number 1. What personality trait, according to Yoda, is a flaw more and more common among Jedi? Which personality trait, according to Yoda, is a flaw more and more common among Jedi? Any guesses? While you're thinking of that, James says, I want to see a show about what happens after the Rise of Skywalker, as do I, my friend. I sure do. I definitely do. I'll ask that question one more time. What personality trait, according to Yoda, is a flaw more and more common among Jedi? Josh's guess is recklessness. Ross's is anger. Cato says arrogance. Jose says pride. James says fear. These are all good guesses. Brian says arrogance. Minta says recklessness. Ben says arrogance. Let's see. What other guesses are out there? Looks like we've got some. Matthew says overconfidence. And by the way, while you're here joining me for the show, feel free to text or send a message to your friends and have them join us right now. I'd love to have more people to play some trivia. Amber says pride. Mason, waiting for your answer, buddy, but I'll ask the question one more time before I move on. What personality trait, according to Yoda, is a flaw more and more common among Jedi? Mason's answer is anger. So the personality trait, according to Yoda, that is a flaw more and more common among Jedi, that would be arrogance. He's talking about arrogance. Yes. Okay. Next question. So that was a nice mix. We had a few that got it correct, a few that were very, very close. So let's see how you do on this one. Let's see. Who disables the power supply on Jabba the Hutt's sail barge? Interesting. He does say it in Attack of the Clones. Good job. Kato is on it. The question is, who disables the power supply on Jabba the Hutt's sail barge? Who disables the power supply on Jabba the Hutt's sail barge? Anybody know? Kato says R2. James says Luke. Ross says R2. Minta says Leia. Matthew says R2. Jose says R2. Mary says R2. Anybody else? Any other guesses? Brian says Leia. Amber says R2. Mason says R2. Ben says Leia. Josh is not sure. Again, the question is, who disables the power supply on Jabba the Hutt's sail barge? The answer is Princess Leia. I would have guessed R2 as well. I don't remember that specifically happening, but of course it did. But who disables the power supply on Jabba the Hutt's sail barge is Leia. How about that? Okay. So, let's see. The next one. Who's the first character to board the Millennium Falcon during the evacuation of Hoth? Hey, Mason, look at that. Mr. Damry says, hi, Mason. How about that? Very nice of you. Your favorite Cardinal fan besides Mommy is here to join us. How about that? She says, she points the gun at the deck and shoots, right? Oh, maybe that's it. Oh, yeah, that must be when it happens. Yeah. But then Kato says with the chain. I thought it was with he says, get the gun pointed at the deck. Actually, I think the pointing at the deck is just to blow up the sail barge. I don't know. Leia is correct. All right. I'm sorry. Oh, you're answering this one. Oh, I don't know if it's correct, actually. Who's the first character to board the Millennium Falcon during the evacuation of Hoth? Jose says Leia. Josh says Leia or Han. You got to pick one, buddy. You got to pick one. Who's the first character to board the Millennium Falcon during the evacuation of Hoth? Russ says 3PO. Mary says Leia. Who's the first character to board the Millennium Falcon during the evacuation of Hoth? Mary says Leia. James says Leia. Mita says Leia. The person carrying the Harris wrench, that's the best answer, but it's not the right answer. Amber says Chewie. Kato says Chewie. Josh has decided with Leia. Jamie says Chewie. Last time I'll share the question, then we're going to see. Mason says Chewie as well, as does Jamie. Who's the first character to board the Millennium Falcon during the evacuation of Hoth? The answer is Chewbacca, the Wookiee. That's the answer. Okay, those were good. So 3PO's last is a Chewie. It was Chewie. It sure was. Okay, very good. No, that's too easy. I can't ask you one that's easy. What? No, that's too easy too. What establishment is where most of the crack freighter pilots in Mos Eisley hang out? That was the worst reading ever. Let me try that again. What establishment is where most of the crack freighter pilots in Mos Eisley hang out? What establishment is where most of the crack freighter pilots on Mos Eisley hang out? You know what? Is this suddenly like a tongue twister? What is going on? Matthew says, my son thinks you look like Tony Stark. I will take that, my friend. Your son is very wise. What establishment is where most of the crack freighter pilots in Mos Espa hang out? Crack meaning like excellent or experts. James says Watto shop. Okay. Anybody else? Where do the best freighter pilots in Mos Eisley hang out? James says Watto shop. Any other guesses? Any other guesses? What establishment is where most of the crack freighter pilots in Mos Eisley hang out? That doesn't exactly fall off the tongue. Kato says the High Flyers Club. Clib. Cantina, Josh says. Matthew says Cantina. Mary's not sure. Club was correct, of course. I gotcha. Ross says blank. Minta says Cantina. James says I don't know. I would just guess it's in Mos Espa. Fair. That's fair. Again, what establishment is where most of the best freighter pilots in Mos Eisley hang out? They're called crack freighter pilots because they're the best. Ross says the spaceport. Interesting. Mason is thinking. Actually, I think everybody, not all of you, but most of you are overthinking this. The answer is just the cantina. That's it. It's just the cantina. Not the ESPN zone or the ESPN Sports Zone. That's a Tony Kornheiser joke. All right, here's the next one. Next question. Oh, that's too easy. Who warns Chewbacca of an approaching stormtrooper squad in Cloud City? Who warns Chewbacca of an approaching stormtrooper squad in Cloud City? Dun, dun, dun. Who warns Chewbacca of an approaching stormtrooper squad in Cloud City? A good question. What could it be, friends? What could it be? Jose says C-3PO. Minta says C-3PO. Matthew says C-3PO. Question again is who warns Chewbacca of an approaching stormtrooper squad in Cloud City? Mary says 3PO. Guy in the orange jumpsuit with the ice cream maker. James says Jar Jar. There we go. No, it's C-3PO. Brian says Goldenrod. Kato says 3PO as well. Anybody else want to guess? Mason says C-3PO. Anybody else? So we've got a number of guesses for C-3PO, one for ice cream maker guy. Amber says 3PO as well. The answer is, of course, C-3PO. Ooh, I think this one should be fairly easy, but we'll see how your powers of recall are, everybody. How many guns line the first Death Star's trench, according to Gold 5's estimate? How many guns line the first Death Star's trench, according to Gold 5's estimates? How many guns line the first Death Star's trench, according to Gold 5's estimates? Are we sure the guy in the orange jumpsuit with the ice cream maker didn't blow up the Death Star? Pretty sure. Ross says 20. Jose says a dozen. Brian says at least 20. Anybody else have a guess? How many guns line the first Death Star's trench according to Gold 5's estimates? Kato says 900,000. That's a lot. Mason says 20. Josh says a lot. Minta says 20. The line in the movies is, I'd say about 20 guns. Some on the surface, some on the tower. So it's 20. Who's the orange guy in the jumpsuit? Porkins? No, there's this classic thing where this guy's running in the background on Cloud City, where he's holding something that looks like an ice cream maker, and it became sort of a fun joke, and there's actually cosplay of it, and they always have a running of the ice cream maker guy at Celebration, which is pretty entertaining. My good friend Marcus Doring is usually one of the people that's behind that, so it's pretty fun. Wilro Hood is his name. Exactly. Wilro Hood. Exactly. All right, let's do a couple more questions, and then we'll get to S, T, and Z. What article of clothing does Luke begin wearing midway through Return of the Jedi? What article of clothing does Luke begin wearing midway through Return of the Jedi? Any guesses? What article of clothing does Luke begin wearing midway through Return of the Jedi? Dun, dun, dun. I don't know what music that was. I think it was like the trivia excitement suspense question or music that I just made up. Josh says camo poncho. Jose says camouflage rebel gear. James says the Jedi uniform. Matthew says glove, a glove. Brian says one single black glove. Cato says a glove. Anybody else? Minta says camouflage gear, so we've got a nice split of camo versus glove versus Jedi uniform. Amber says a glove. Ben says camo. Jamie says a turtleneck. I'll have to go to my research for that one. Probably not turtleneck, but I always like the clever questions. That's like how I was in high school. I just always have those kind of answers. Mary says glove. Also, but Mary says gloves. So we have glove and we have gloves. We have camouflage and we have the Jedi outfit. Any other guesses as far as what article of clothing does Luke begin wearing midway through Return of the Jedi? The answer is a glove. One glove, but gloves is fine. Well, I'll accept that for sure. Mason had that. So I'll give that to you, buddy, because I know you saw that or typed that before I actually said it. Wes, hey Wes, what's up, man? Good to have you, and I love your picture on your icon there. He says a poncho. Josh says orange jumpsuit, and he carries a lightsaber that makes ice cream. Okay, I'll stop. Please don't throw tomatoes. Well, I might throw tomatoes, but that's good. I like tomatoes. They're good. All right, next question. Let's just do one more. Let's see. What type of vehicle is used to shoot down the first Imperial Scout Walker on Endor? Ooh, interesting possibilities here. What type of vehicle is used to shoot down the first Imperial Scout Walker on Endor? A good question. What type of vehicle is used to shoot down the first Imperial Scout Walker on Endor? Dun, 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 dun. That was my Phantom Menace music. Duel of the Fates. Thank you. What type of vehicle is used to shoot down the first Imperial Scout Walker on Endor? I'll give you a few moments to think about that. Ross says another Scout Walker. Josh says same, another ATST. Any other possibilities? Brian says another ATST. This is why I like trivia, because it could be one thing, could also be something else, and you just kind of start second guessing yourself. That's kind of a fun thing. Jose asks if it's the two logs. A valid question. And Mason says, is it a speeder bike? I like that as well. Interesting guesses. Minta says another ATST. Hey, Sarah, what's up? She says another Scout Walker. Ben wants to know if it's a Bugatti. You're right, man. You said you were going to bring the trivia, and you did. Amber says an ATST. The question is, what type of vehicle is used to shoot down the first Imperial Scout Walker on Endor? The answer is an ATST. That is correct. Wes says, like multiple choices questions, one should go with their first impulse. Correct? I think so, too. It did say shot down. Yep. It does say shut down, and the ATST does actually happen. Serious answer, another speeder bike. That's what Mason thought as well. Very, very good. All right, everybody, thank you so much for playing Star Wars Trivia. We played it a week earlier than we normally do in the month because next week I want to do some stuff with the Bad Batch. But for now, let's jump into Ask Dan Z. All right, this is your chance to ask me questions about Star Wars, about what's going on with Coffee with Kenobi, anything that we've got going on. If I can help you out or give you any suggestions about Walt Disney World as well. I know Disneyland is going to be opening this week, which is very, very exciting. People have waited a very impossibly long time to go back to that park, so that's going to be really fun. In fact, if you're one of the people that's going to Disneyland, let us know how it goes. And of course, if you are going to think about going to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or anywhere really you want to go on the planet for vacation, then I highly suggest using the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, Becky Mankin. You've heard her on the show multiple times. She's definitely the person to go to for all of your questions about Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or traveling in general. Looks like we've got a couple of things here, which is great. Josh says, will the first Bad Batch top 5 be on episode 1 or episodes 1 and 2 since they both come out in the same week? You know what? That is a good question. What would you like to do? What would anybody else like to do? I feel like it might be better just to put them both together. So I think that might be fun. Minta wants to know if I've ever seen Boyega's movie Attack of the Block. I haven't, Minta. I know that was one thing that they always talked about as far as it being a cool thing to watch before you see The Force Awakens, because that's kind of how Boyega got his big break. But I've heard it's great. Have you seen it? Matthew says, Legacy lightsaber or Black Series lightsaber? It's easy. I don't have to think about it. The Black Series lightsabers are cool, but the Legacy lightsabers are like another level of awesome. I can't imagine anything ever being better than the Legacy lightsaber. And I've got, as you see from the opening video for Facebook Live, I've got the classic Force FX lightsabers. But the Legacy lightsabers have the right weight. They're screen accurate as far as the length of the blades themselves if you buy the certain kind. I think they're great. Matthew says, yep, book through Becky. Exactly. She is the best. She is the best. Well, I see one of my old roommates from the Walt Disney World College program, Brian Doobie. Hello, Mr. Doobie. It's so great to see you, my friend. He says, how do you feel about Disney selling Vista Way? So Vista Way is an apartment complex that Disney had for cast members who were on the college program, the Walt Disney World College program, of which I was a member of 3 different times. And I think it's kind of sad. That's talk about the end of an era, but I'm sure they have their reasons, but those memories that we have will certainly live on, Brian, for sure. Amber wants to know when the Galactic Star Cruiser is opening up. That is the $1 million question, Amber. Almost literally. Of course, we don't know price points yet, but I can promise you when I'm booking my Galactic Star Cruiser experience, I'll be using Becky Menken and the team at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel as well. But I don't know when it's opening. Disney has not said yet. I know they've been working on it around the clock, even during like the heat of the pandemic, using a lot of extra safety measures, which is why it's taking so much longer. But as soon as I know, I will be sure to pass that news along instantly all over Coffee with Kenobi social media and on our webpage, because that's something I really want. What are you rewatching to get ready for Bad Batch? Honestly, the only thing I have to really to get ready for is to watch those first 4 episodes in the last season of Clone Wars, where we get to meet the guys from the Bad Batch. So that's what I've been doing, because I think it's just kind of a fun way to get to know those characters. What about you? What have you been doing? Josh says, recently started Skywalker, A Family of War. It's great. I'm glad you like it. Hopefully you heard my interview with author Kristen Baver a couple of weeks ago, where we talked all about her experiences writing the book, and it was a really, really fun and engaging interview, and the book is a lot of fun. I love how she wrote it. Brian wants to know who my favorite character from the Bad Batch is. That's a good question, Brian. Brian says his favorite is Echo. You know what? Mine's Hunter. Mine is definitely Hunter, for sure. The blue LED setting looks amazing. It gives an appearance of saber lights. Greetings. Oh, Luis, thank you so much, my friend, and thank you so much. Again, I apologize I couldn't read your thing before, but I'm very grateful to have you on the show. I'm thrilled. And I'm very glad you liked the lighting. My son Peyton really worked really, really hard on this, and Clayton Sandell helped me to get it just right as well. So I've got a good team there of people who know what they're doing, much more than I do, for sure. So thank you, Luis. It's so good to have you. Josh says, recently my family tried to book Savvy's, but it was all filled up. Planning to buy 1 or 2 Legacy lightsabers instead. Do they hold up to Savvy's? Do you think Galaxy's Edge is worth it without Savvy's? I do. I don't want you to don't be too disappointed. And I would suggest when you're there, just checking in at Savvy's just to see if there's a cancellation. I've never heard of that happening, but it doesn't mean that it can't. I would suggest that. The Legacy lightsabers are basically the same as far as the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers from Savvy's workshop. The difference is that you haven't seen them because they've never been on screen before or in any animation or anything like that, because you're building them. But the same kind, use the same LED blades. They're great. You won't feel cheated. Have I seen the new animatronic Groot? I have seen the new animatronic Groot, and it's scary cool. Like, it's amazing how good it is. It just makes me excited for whatever they can do in the future. Mason, remind me to show you that, buddy. It's pretty cool. Did I spot Rex in the Bad Batch trailer? You know what? I did. Now that you mention it, I did spot him in the trailer. Or at least who I thought was him. James says, do you think Finn could be related to Mace Windu? Since he's force sensitive, maybe his great-grandfather? You know what, James? I don't think that. I feel like while anything is certainly possible, I just don't feel like, I hope that isn't true, because that just seems like there's just too much. It's like, it's okay, and this is sort of the challenge with Rey's character sometimes. It's okay for everything not to be interconnected like Game of Thrones or something like that. It's okay to have it different, in my opinion. But what do you think, James? Do you think that he might be related? I don't think that he is, but we'll see. Amber says, I think there's a wait list if someone canceled. I wouldn't be surprised. It's definitely worth checking into it, Josh. When are you going, by the way? Be sure to let us know. Ben says he rewatched season 7, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything else. No, I don't think you are, bud. I think the Bad Batch, those 4 episodes, the last season of Clone Wars and season 7 are absolutely the way to go. I think you will certainly be happy with that. All right. Well, we are at the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight here Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time every single week as I bring you Star Wars conversation with all of our friends here. Next week, we're going to be talking about your top 5 favorite Poe Dameron moments, and we're going to be enjoying the excitement of getting ready to see the Bad Batch. It's going to be so much fun. Josh says, what are my plans for May the 4th and 25th? So May the 4th, actually, I'm doing a presentation through a local library here that's going to be on Zoom. I'm going to be sharing some information on that in the CWK Cafe so that you can join us too. I'll be talking about the hero's journey and recommending some certain Star Wars books. James says, I doubt it, but I heard Lando might be his father. No, that's, to me, buddy, that's like the kind of rumors or speculation stuff that I don't dabble in those waters, but I know a lot of people love them, but I don't think there's any connection there at all. In fact, the story we have, the 9 movies, that's the story we got. I feel pretty confident in saying that is Lucasfilm's plan, and that's where we're at. If there's ever anything later, that would be great. Amber, no problem. Thanks for coming to the show. We'll see you next week. Josh is going to Batuu on June 9th. You'll be there during Mason's birthday. How fun. Cato, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Minta, may the force be with you. Ross says, happy Thrawn Eve, everyone. That's right, the new Thrawn book. Let's see. Well, oh, yeah, I do have it. It's down there. But yeah, the new Thrawn book, I've read it. Yeah, you'll be excited. You will be excited for sure. Ben says, great show. Thanks, Ben. It's always great because of people like you joining us each and every week, my friend, and nice job on the trivia. Mary says, have a great week, everyone. Thanks again, Dan. Have a great week at school, Mason. Thank you so much. I know that Mason will. You already pre-ordered. Oh, good. That's good. Looking forward to the new Thrawn novel tomorrow. Yeah, Wes, you're going to like it, man. It's pretty cool. Sarah, thank you, and thank you again, everybody. We will see you next Monday night talking about your top 5 favorite Poe Dameron moments, and then be sure to listen to Coffee with Kenobi this week as we will continue to help get you excited for the Bad Batch. We're going to be looking at the things we're most looking forward to from this brand new Star Wars animated series. Until next time, everybody, have a great weekend, and remember, this is a podcast you're looking for. See you later, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.